What's up guys, it's Allie and today I'm going to be filming my Q&A video. I leave for the Appalachian Trail in just 1 week and I tried to sit down and film this just talking to the camera a couple times and it just didn't feel right. So I'm actually in Colorado right now on a ski trip and I decided I'm just going to take you along with me today and answer some questions on the mountain. So let's jump into the video and head out. Okay, so it's super sunny, forgive me for squinting, but before I head down to the lift, I want to talk about my first question, which is why do you want to hike the Appalachian Trail? And I actually wrote a whole blog post about this and I will put it in the description box below. It's on Taps and Snacks website, so you should go check that out. But the short answer is that in 2017, when I found out about the Appalachian Trail, I put it on my someday maybe list, just knowing that I love personal growth and challenging myself and self-discipline. And if I ever got the chance to do something this crazy and this character developing, I would totally want to do that. And so here we are, the opportunity has presented itself and I'm flinging myself at it in exactly 1 week. All right, on to the ski lift. Okay, so another question that I get quite a bit is, why do I enjoy hiking and when did I start hiking? And I think this comes from a lot of the people that I'm friends and family with who don't really understand my enjoyment of hiking. And the short answer to that question is that I found hiking in 2015, I believe, on a trip to New Mexico, and I went to my first REI because as an all or nothing kind of person, if I was going to hike, I needed all of the gear, the boots, and otherwise, which I no longer use any of. But that's how I found it, and I just really enjoyed it. The endorphin rush, the challenge, the reward of accomplishing something at the end, which has then led me to the idea of thru hiking. So I hope that answers that question. Another category of questions that is really popular, which is food. So a lot of questions are, how are you going to carry food for 6 months? And what are you going to eat? And don't you need 4,000 to 6,000 calories? Where do you resupply? And questions like that. So to answer food questions, I plan on carrying about 4 to 7 days worth of food at a time, which will usually consist of ramen, pasta sides, anything that you can put in a tortilla, lots of granola bars, and so forth. A lot of the time that will look like resupplying at a Dollar General or a Walmart if I'm lucky, and I will get to those stores by either catching shuttles or hitchhikes into town. And then every 4 to 7 days I will do that over and over again. As far as the calories are concerned, I'm not overly worried about it. I'm just going to listen to my body and eat when I'm hungry, and if I find myself fatiguing, then I'll force myself to eat even if I'm not hungry. And I also have the option to send resupply boxes should I want to do that, and or if any of my friends and family end up wanting to send me boxes with goodies, they can always do that to a post office and I can pick those up and put all that food in my pack. So that's food for you. A couple more questions. Are you going solo? And yes, I am starting the Appalachian Trail northbound alone, but I don't anticipate to be alone because there are so many people out there, although I'm really comfortable in solitude and being alone won't bother me by any means. But yes, I am starting solo. Are you taking Bo? If you haven't watched my other video, Bo is my dog, and I'm not going to be taking Bo, at least not starting with him. Bo is big and hairy, and with the forecast of rain that we're going to see for the first while, I want to adjust to living in my tent in wet, miserable conditions on my own without something smelly and dirty, other than myself taking up space in that tent. So I have hopes that I can bring him out in some of the northern states or maybe even after the Smokies, but I haven't committed to that yet, and I'm not going to be starting with my precious, precious Bo. Okay, so last question for this lift ride. Where do you sleep? I've had a lot of people ask me if I will be couch surfing or if I will be stopping in at people's houses or hotels every night, and while that is probably an option, that is not the approach I'm taking. The idea of this thru hike is that I'll carry everything that I need on my back and take an occasional zero in town where I'll stop at a hotel or a hostel or a friend's house. But majority of the time I will be sleeping in my tent on a practically inflatable pool floaty, which is a sleeping pad, with my Inline Equipment quilt, and that will be my master bedroom. Back to skiing. Back on the lift with another question. What is your base weight, and are you bringing any luxury items? So my base weight right now is sitting around 15 or 16 pounds, but I've made a couple gear changes and haven't weighed since then. So when I post my full gear list next week, I will have a specific and accurate base weight. Your base weight is essentially just your pack, not including the weight that you are wearing, your consumables such as food and water and fuel. The other question that I want to answer on this lift ride is the luxury item question. Luxury items are essentially something that you bring along that you don't necessarily need. It's something you like, it brings you joy, it's maybe heavy, takes up space, and you can definitely do without it. I am in fact bringing a luxury item, and my luxury item is a skillet. Now, a lot of people who I've told about this make fun of me because I'm already bringing a pot to boil water, so why do I need a skillet? But the truth is I really like cooking. It brings me a lot of joy, and when I'm out there being Master Chef Bobby Flay, whipping up a mean quesadilla or grilled cheese or a breakfast scramble, you're gonna be jealous. And if I end up not using it, I'll just send it home and tell everybody who's been making fun of me that they were right. Anyway, back to skiing. Alright, so heading back in for lunch now, answering a couple more questions. I'm slowly rolling down these greens. How many miles do you plan on averaging a day? And that is a great question because I actually don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I know what my body is going to want to do. I would like to average around 15 miles per day over the course of the entire thru hike, but we'll just see how that goes. Are you going to take 0 days? And on your 0 days, what do you plan on doing? Yes, I plan on taking 0 days and narrow days, which just means I will not do any hiking or I'll hike less than a certain number of miles. On those days, I plan on catching up on my personal hygiene, doing camp chores like laundry, resting, eating town food, having a beer or two, and yeah, just all the things that you can't do while you're out on the trail. Okay, so I'm in for lunch. I'm gonna answer a few more questions. Let's talk about pacing. I got asked with my pacing how long I think this trail is gonna take me. And I don't know about my pacing, but the average person takes about 6 months, and I think I'm pretty average. Therefore, I anticipate I'll take about 6 months. Sounds good to me. Next question, how do you plan on keeping your mind busy while you're out there? And I thought about this a lot. I like podcasts, I listen to music. There's always audiobooks, but I think part of thru hiking is just the ability to slow down. You get to see what's around you, you get to check it out, you get to meet people, hang out, talk to people, and I think that that's part of keeping your mind busy. And when your mind's not busy, I think that's part of the thru hike too, learning how to be content with slowing down and being still, but I guess we'll find out. All right, so I just wrapped up lunch, about to head back out on the slopes. and was going to answer the question of what do I plan to do with my equipment when the seasons change and how do I handle those logistics. And the answer to that is I am fortunate enough to have some really awesome family who can ship me boxes to post offices a few times ahead so that I can get to them and can receive boxes or packages that I send home with my cold weather gear when it starts to warm up, or luxury items I may decide I don't need, or anything of that sort. So I'm super fortunate to have people at home supporting me, so I don't find that logistics regarding equipment changes or season changes should really be a problem at all. All right, let's get buckled in. So bright out here. Okay, I'm going to combine these next two questions before I head back down to the lift. What are you afraid of? What are your fears? And then what wildlife encounters are you worried about? And starting with the first one, I'm not really afraid of very many things. I have a tendency to talk myself down quite a bit, and while I know that there are things that I should probably be worried about, I don't know that I'm necessarily afraid of them. I don't consume a lot of negative or scary content, therefore I don't typically go to a negative or scared mindset. Now I'm not saying that there won't be times that I'll be scared. I'm sure rustling outside my tent or being over aware of some of the unfortunate encounters that have happened on the Appalachian Trail over the last few years will worry me a little bit if I allow them to get in my head, but I try to just filter out those negative thoughts. And as far as wildlife I'm afraid of encountering, I'm not scared of bears. Maybe that's naive of me, but I'm really only worried about snakes. I just really don't like them. And I feel like by the time you see them, it's usually like they're too close already. So yeah, snakes. I'm worried about snakes. All right, back on the lift and talking about the things I am most excited about, or things I'm most excited to see, and the parts that I am most dreading. I just think it's gonna be so cool to see all the things that I've seen on YouTube videos and in pictures and read about in books for myself in person for the first time. I haven't put a lot of thought into the negative side of things. I think I have a pretty romanticized version, which I know can be a little bit dangerous, but mostly thinking about climbing into my tent at the end of a rainy, cold, wet day when what I would really like to be doing is climbing into my bed. That one seems to play in the back of my mind quite a bit. If you're having a terrible time, will you quit? Will you get off trail? Will you decide it's not worth it anymore? And the answer is, I don't think so. I think that I'd have to experience injury to get off trail. Pride is a very motivating quality or characteristic, and I have quite a bit of it, and I think that that will keep me going even on the days or weeks or, I don't know, months, I guess, that I don't want to. And if it becomes too overwhelming, I think I'll just commit to finishing it and decide I'll never do it again after that. And then what do I hope to learn about myself on this trail? That's a pretty deep question, and I don't know that I can anticipate what I will learn about myself, but I just expect there to be a lot of character development and personal growth overall. What that looks like, I'm gonna let the journey decide. I know it will shape me no matter what. How? I guess we will find out. Okay, back to some skiing. Okay, so a couple questions on preparedness being, are you prepared for this? How do you know if you've prepared physically and mentally enough? And I don't know. I would say there's no better way to prepare for a thru hike than hiking. So I don't really know if I'm prepared, but whether I'm prepared or not, I'm going out there. I don't think that YouTube or books or journaling can ever prepare you for something that you don't know anything about. So I'm as prepared as I'm going to be, considering I leave in a week. And I'm gonna hope that's prepared enough. Okay, picking up speed. Are you taking a gun? And the answer is no. I I've explained this a decent amount of times to different people, but I just don't feel I need one. I have other forms of protection that I will be carrying, therefore I don't feel a gun is necessary. And that's the end of that story. All right, so it's getting towards the end of the day, and I'm gonna answer all the health and hygiene questions while I drink this lager. Starting with, how do I plan to avoid like norovirus and Lyme disease and any number of sicknesses, I guess COVID included. And I'm gonna start with saying wearing my mask when necessary and appropriate, avoid touching my face, washing my hands. I'm bringing soap, which is another luxury item. So hopefully between those things I can stay relatively clean. As far as ticks, I will just be checking myself at the end of every day. And as far as just general like health, I'm going to be taking some vitamins and supplements that will help with my immune system. So that's the plan on that front. My last health and hygiene question is about being fair-skinned and how I'm going to protect myself from the sun. I do have a sun umbrella, or I guess an umbrella that doubles for sun. I am going to be bringing a couple of products that have sunscreen in them, and I also have a hat, so hopefully between those things I'll be okay. All right, I'm gonna get back on the mountain and answer some more of these later. What do you do for a living? Well, it's a great question. I work in software, IT, and I am what is called a product manager, sometimes referred to as a program manager, also known as a project manager. I have my PMP. I actually have a video about that. Essentially, I just help manage, direct, gather, and facilitate software projects. So that's what I do for a living. Will I be working on trail? No, I won't. I really considered it for a while. I've always been career oriented, and not bringing in an income is really weird. But I want to take advantage of the 6 months, take that time off, and resume my career when I get back. So no, I won't be working. The tech industry will always be there. Okay, let's go. Okay, so wrapping up questions on like my career and finances, I've got 3 big questions. How do you afford to thru hike? How much money are you budgeting for the trail? And what happens if you run out of funds? So to answer the first question, how do you afford to thru hike? I just saved money. I really thought about the expenses that I had, cut back where I didn't need to spend. Over the last couple of years, saving money has been my priority, and that's what I've done. As far as how much money it takes or how much money I've planned for this thru hike, I know that they say on average plan for about $2 every mile, or about $1,000 a month. So I think ideally I'd like to come in around $1,000 a month, or $2 per mile, but I'm prepared to spend a little bit more than that, thinking about the experience and not about the funds. I can always go pursue tech when I get back, and so I really do want this to be the experience of a lifetime. Now, I'm not going to be frivolous, but if I want a meal in town, then I'm going to have one. And then what happens if I run out of funds? I don't think this should be an issue at all. I have budgeted quite well and saved up plenty of money. But should some unforeseen circumstance happen where I do run out of money while I'm on trail, well then I guess I'll just be homeless, because I already said I'm not coming home. So no, I'm just kidding. I don't really worry about that one. The mountain is dead. Last run of the day. And the last questions for this video. Okay, on this last run, I'm going to answer these last questions, starting with how are you going to stay connected? And the Appalachian Trail luckily has service in quite a few places. I'll have service in town. I'll have service at several road crossings, and that should be enough for me. The second half of this question is, how are we going to stay connected through social media? I hope you saw that fox. Anyway, this is such a cool trail. Staying connected will predominantly be through social media, Instagram and YouTube. I'll be uploading there. I don't know on which kind of cadence. I need to learn how to edit videos on my phone. So when I figure out a style that works for me, well, then you'll see them on the internet. And until then, I'm gonna enjoy the very last of this pass. I know this video is a little bit different, but if you liked it, give it a big thumbs up and maybe even subscribe so you can see my upcoming gear list. And until then, adios muchachos.